Hey guys, I'm David with Transparency Fitness Live, and today we're going to be hanging out with Bob Tome and Chris Jones. Now, Bob is going to be, well, this is the first time that we've had a repeat guest on the podcast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, you're the first guest we've asked to come back, and we got a lot to talk about because last time we had you on, we talked about this 8-week program I was going to be doing with you, and we've kind of completed that or right at the end of that, and so we're going to be talking about that today, and then we brought on Chris Jones, one of Bob Tome's awesome clients, and Chris is an amazing barista, one of the best baristas in town, and a guinea pig. And we're going to talk about some static training as well. But yeah, if you just want to give people a little bit of your background again for any new listeners, and just both of you guys can kind of let everybody know a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll dive right into it.
Okay. Well, I've been in the fitness industry since 1986.
That was the year I was born, by the way, guys, just to let you know. That lets you know how
I'm
old
a dinosaur.
Bob is.
And then personal training exclusively since 1998. And I have my own studio currently, and it's called Simply Strong Studio. And I've been enjoying the process of getting people healthy for many years.
And, it's pretty amazing. One of the things that Bob really believes in is machine training versus conventional free weights, dumbbells, kettlebells. He doesn't necessarily say there's anything against it, but he finds that using machines is the best way of training. And you kind of have your own kind of protocol. If you want to run through that real quick, just to let people have an idea, so as we go through and start talking about the last couple months and then what you've been doing with Chris, so they have an idea of kind of your protocol for that machine training.
Well, it is exclusively machine training. I'm not against any other modality, by the way. But I find it, the protocol itself is a total body workout, one set to momentary muscular failure. There are other avenues of taking a person to the end of a set.
I've been there, by the way, guys. I've been to the end. It's not pleasant.
He has. And so what we do is it's a quick, brief program. It's designed to be intense. It's the true classic high-intensity training. People don't realize, but that term was coined by Arthur Jones, the creator of Nautilus equipment, and through his research. He's the first person who used that. But it's a 20 to 30-minute program, one set to momentary muscular failure. You do it usually 1 to 2 times a week, and I find it very successful getting people results.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I did the last. Well, I guess we'll say January 1st was probably the really we kind of did a couple sessions, I think, in December, right? But
That's
before
correct.
we actually got into a flow where it was twice a week, we got into the twice a week for 30 minutes, and we actually stuck with that. So probably January 1st. It is now February 27th, so pretty much 2 months. Not, I guess, a complete 2 months. We went 2 times a week, and then I would do my Sunday Fun Day workout, which if you guys don't know what that is, check out the Instagram. We get crazy with it. But other than that, I was pretty much working out 3 times a week, no more than 45 minutes at a time. And it's, there's a lot to dive into. But I also want to talk a little bit with Chris over here.
All right.
Just about, your experience with Bob. You've been working with him for
About 2 years
2
now.
years now, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Well, I guess it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm a drummer, and I was used to, playing drums 2 or 3 hours, 2 or 3 times a week sometimes, and obviously that kind of stopped then, and I had spent years just kind of noodling around at the gym or Planet Fitness or whatever, not really knowing what I was doing, and I'd known Bob for several years and knew what he did, and finally reached out around that time. I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this.
So yes, you've been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, did you start him off with your basic protocol where it was kind of you only see him once a week, right?
Right.
And then the rest of the time you do a lot of cardio based stuff,
Right,
like
yeah.
at Planet Fitness and stuff like that. So you really only train. Do you train any muscles outside of that once a week?
Sometimes a little. I've got a pull-up bar that I'll walk
Right.
through a door and pull up, and I'll do some work.
But
with
outside
some
of
heavy
like
plates, but not training. No.
Not like actual organized. I'm going to go in here and do this
Right.
little circuit of exercises or work on these specific muscles today. You just kind of do more like let's burn fat and like
Right, yeah.
keep the cardiovascular up, and then I focus on the strength aspect and the training aspect with Bob once a
Yep.
week for about 30 minutes.
Yep.
And so, and you guys have always just done the once a week then.
We have, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, over the last 2 years, I want to hear about the progression. I want to hear about kind of like the way, because I know your guys' training programs have actually significantly changed from day one versus to where you guys are at right now.
Yeah.
Well, I initially took Chris through the traditional protocol, and which was a total body workout with a 1 set to momentary muscular failure. It was new to him at the time. I mean, he had not done that particular training exclusively at all, or ever tried it. So it's like with any client that I have, it's really nice to see people take steps forward. Yeah. And to your all's credit, both of you, you all are wonderful subjects to train because you all are willing to go for it and you're willing to go to the end. And having said that, everybody's different, and I have to gauge that when I train somebody. But Chris he's been steady and consistent, and I think he's done tremendous enhancement to his physical well-being with his body.
Right.
He's so strong, and which will lead us into what he's doing now.
Right, yeah. Which is a whole other one of the reasons we brought you back on, that static training.
Yeah.
I guess. So you start off with the original protocol, and I'm guessing you switch every 6 to 8. Is it 6 to or 4 weeks? How often do you switch the? So just to let you guys know, Bob has a 2,000 square foot gym, and it's big and open. And there's how many different machines do you have in there right now?
40
different machines. So when you do Bob's protocol, you usually do anywhere from what my experience is, like 5 or 6 to maybe up to 8 different exercises in that 30 minutes. Going through and slowly killing your muscles over a minute to 2 minute period. And when he says muscular failure, like I'm sure some of you think you've been to muscular failure out there. I thought I had till I started training with Bob, and like it becomes rather painful for those last 30, 20 seconds where you're just going as slow as you can. And Bob's like, and then you get to the end and Bob's like, one more. And so you do one more, right? And he's like, one more. And it gets to the point where, like, physically, Bob's doing the exercise for you because your muscles are done.
I missed my workout that week.
Yeah, right. So just to give you guys an idea of what Bob has, so every 4 weeks you try to change up some of the modalities, some of the different exercise
Well,
equipment?
it depends on the person, but usually, and it also depends on the frequency. So if somebody's doing once a week, then we're usually going 8 weeks before we change the cycle of the program. Obviously, if it's 2 times a week, we get into about a monthly exchange of different protocol, and I say protocol, different exercises, and could be different protocol.
Okay. I guess so that's kind of the difference between Chris and I in the aspect that I've been doing it twice a week with you, and he was doing it once a week. So you take a little bit longer before you change up some of the modalities for him.
Yeah, I do, and which one is a good point is, a part of the program design of 1 to 2 times a week. Targeting somebody who's not training at all just to get something in is very important. And then with the way the work is designed and the intensity to the muscles,
right.
They get the person would get a full week of recovery to kind of recharge and start back up. So part of it is for everybody is how fast do you recover?
Right.
Now,
did you see, since you've trained us both, did you see, giving Chris that full week of recovery versus where I was getting, a couple days, like up to 3 to 4 days in between our workouts?
Yeah.
Did you see any differences as far as, do you feel like Chris progressed a little bit faster because he had more recovery, or?
Well, I feel like there's,
and I know we're 2 different people in the aspect of how we're built.
Yeah, and that's so important. We're all individuals. We all have different recovery times. I don't know your sleep patterns. I don't know how well you're eating. Those things have a factor. Stress, all those things are factors. You have done really well, and there's times where I think you're probably still recovering. I think you notice that when you hit a machine, you just go, yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm still feeling those muscles, and that could have been a carryover from another Sunday Fun Day.
Yeah.
So, in general, it's ideal setting, an ideal world would be you'd wake up and you go, wow, I feel really good today. Let me call Bob. Let's get a session in.
Right.
So I think it's a little hit and miss with recovery, but for the most part, I think you both work well and have seemed to progress, and that's the key. Is
right.
If you're progressing, then I know we're on track.
Right. And I really still think recovery does play a part, and I know that's one of your biggest things that you preach is more time recovering in between workouts. But I also think there's a mental aspect where that goes back to I guess Joe Rogan and like David Goggins, where they're just like you can override it. And I think there's a little bit of both that you need. You need more recovery, but I also think that a tougher mind can push through. I think Chris has one of those. I think there may be other people out there that don't have that oomph like Chris does to like, oh yeah, I want to go up. Let's we're gonna go up and it's gonna hurt, but I'm gonna do it, right? So I think that plays a part as well with probably client to client as well.
It does, and then we haven't talked about, but there's a couple of ways you can do the training, which would be more traditional and what people may be familiar with is like repetition counts.
Right.
And then what I've switched to and use more often now is the time under tension or time under load. So the clock doesn't lie. If I have the target of between 1 and 130 and you're exceeding 130, then I know, yeah, David or Chris can go up, and that's the key.
Right.
So that's for me is a tremendous tool.
If you want to just explain that to everybody real quick on like how you break down a minute 30 and 2 minutes. So pretty much I'm just sitting there doing the exercise at a very slow pace. You want roughly 6 seconds concentric, 6 seconds eccentric, right?
The cadence can change. There's a lot of different ways to put it.
But I would say as an average or whole, you want a slower cadence.
Oh yeah.
3 to 6 seconds in between your eccentric and concentric movements on most of the exercises.
Well, yes, and then what you'll find is people think they're going 3 or 6.
Oh no, we found that out. We found
because if you really time it, if I'm looking at the stopwatch and I'm watching a person, and I'm going to use a chest press, and they're pressing through the motion. Usually at the gym, you'll see it's 1 and maybe 1 and 1.5, 2 seconds back. To really physically go slower. Yeah, just there's so much muscular tension that's happening, which really amplifies the effect towards the muscles. But so cadence is very important, and I think you've hit it on the head. As long as you're controlled and smooth, and that would be above 2 seconds in each direction.
Right.
The classic Nautilus principles were 4-2 or 2-4,
okay,
where you would go 1,000, 2 1,000, and then 4 seconds back. I've seen everything from there's Ken Hutchins, who the founder of Super Slow Systems Training, later RenX. He recommends 10-10, 10 seconds in each direction. So there's play. There's play.
I'm happy you don't follow his philosophy.
There's play in that. Well, part of that's machine design, whether you can do it or not, or really dialing back the weights. But the big factor here in the training is going much slower than what people are used to doing. And me watching and monitoring that.
Right. And so Bob puts the usually for if the clients wants, I'm one of the clients that likes to be able to see the time. So he'll put his clock in front of me, and I'll watch that clock. And like we said, we go as slow as we possibly can. And so if I remember correctly, if you can only make it to a minute before you hit muscle failure, that means that you would stay at that weight next time, right?
If you can, yes. If you hit at least to a minute.
If you can comfortably get over a minute and a half. Between a minute and a half and 2 minutes, you're gonna go up in weight in theory, right?
That's correct.
And then if you can't make it to a minute, then maybe we'll try next week.
Yeah. Well, we might have to dial back.
Yeah, and you might have to dial back the weight. But there's some different factors that week. I could have been really stressed. Next week I got it. I'll be mentally focused.
Right.
One of the things I found that really helped, and I don't know if it helped Chris when he trains with you, is having you stand there. Because I get to a point where we're at a minute and like my muscles are dying. Like they want to quit so bad. You would not believe that a minute and a half of not stop working out hurts so much. Like Chris can probably attest to this. Like it hurts.
Yeah. Well, and there's a point too. Like you're doing it and you're doing it and you're doing it, and then all of a sudden it's just like
your muscle just stops working.
Yeah, you're done.
It's very
but you
true.
still, you need to make it, 13 more seconds.
Right, because you're seeing the clock, and
and you want to go
and
up
that's where
next
that
week.
mental toughness comes in.
Yeah.
You don't want to do the same weight next week. You want to always progress, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, that's my motivation. I'm like, all right, I at least got to get it to a minute, and then my objective usually is to try to get it to 2 minutes, because I'm always trying to just show Bob I'm better than the weight that he gave me. This isn't enough, Bob.
He's winning. He's doing a great job.
But yeah, so it amazed me that in a minute and a half my muscles could get so physically exhausted. And I like that you do usually 2 upper body exercises, and then you'll give the upper body a break and go into a lower body or 2 lower body exercise. At least for me, the way you've been training me.
And that's pretty typical. I mean, the classic would be larger groups into smaller groups, but I think with the intensity and program design, I'm changing things up for everybody. But I like that. I personally like that. I like, give it your push-pull, give it a great effort, and now let's switch it to legs and let those get some work and then go back to the upper body.
Now, Chris, did you guys ever hit a plateau over the last 2 years? Have you ever hit a point where you guys got stuck?
Not
No,
really.
I don't think so.
So for 2 years straight, you've progressed or you've been slowly progressing then on most of the exercises that you've got them going through.
It is true. Now, the one thing, and then we'll get into this, I'm sure, Chris is like really the first person I've been taking. Now I got another person, hello, Bev, that is that's doing static training. And so that's another variation of the training versus the traditional dynamic resistance or isotonic resistance. So so anyway, what we're trying to do is just get him, we can't measure that as well. The static, we're looking at options to be able to measure it. But so right now what we're doing is I'm trusting Chris is going to give all his all effort on the statics that we have set up. And but that's been new, and Chris has been a big part of the changeover, which is going to eventually bleed into all the other clients.
Chris, you seem to be a guinea pig on a few different projects. You're coming onto the podcast being a guinea pig.
Right.
Guinea pig with the static training.
Well,
you're picking the right things, I think, to be guinea pigs on, though.
I'm just trying to remember how the conversation came up. We were probably just doing our regular training, and you're like, so did you just present the idea to see what I would think, or?
I think originally I just knew you have that kind of go for it intense way about yourself when you train, and I thought, gosh, he'd be a prime candidate to try this out, and there's I've been already in search as a possibility of purchasing some equipment that had measurement tools for isometric training.
Yeah, because it's gonna have digital. There'll be a digital.
Yeah, you'll be able to see your output.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You see where you're going up and where you're going down, and I thought, well, if I do that, it'd probably be a good idea to see if clients like it.
Right.
So that's kind of how it stemmed through conversation, I think. And then
we would maybe put one in there just to see what would happen. And
mm-hmm. That's right. That's what we did. We initially, I just kind of teased him with it. Here, let's try this out and see what you think. And well, you can tell your experience initially. What did you think of it initially when you first did a test run on the first time?
When I heard it, I was like, okay.
And by the way, guys, static training, just for anybody listening that may not know what static training is pretty much picking a spot. Well, actually, I'll let you kind of give you probably have a better description than I do since you've been doing it for a little bit longer than me.
Well, it is pretty simple if you think about it. Static training, and there's I would classify static training as a position that you're holding or pushing and pulling against, and so that's called overcoming a resistance or yielding. So overcoming or yielding is static. If you were doing a squat in the mid position and you didn't move, you just held it. So there's no movement. You just need to be able to have something that's strong enough to either push against that won't move or pull against that won't move. But it's a fixed position where you're exerting your highest level of energy.
Stay under tension without moving.
Yeah, yeah. And that's part of it. I mean, so what we're doing with Chris and now Bev McLean is we're pushing and pulling with our arms and our legs. And again, that's designed to be overcoming something where you're exerting force as hard as you can. And what we can get into this, but what we're doing is finding out where our limits are on time. So I am also timing the static training, but the static is what it sounds like, or isometric is it's a fixed position, and you're exerting your force against something that will not move.
It's all you, Chris. Sorry. I just wanted just for the few people that, for out of the 10 people that are listening, there might be one that want to know. They're like, what is the static training you speak of?
Well, when I first heard the idea, it was just kind of like, okay, sure. It just didn't make it. I'm trying to think of something else to compare to that's not, training or something that, you hear something and you're just kind of like, I don't see how that could work, because, my whole life it's always been,
Yes.
moving weight, right? Like
Mine
that's
was
how,
free weights.
Yeah.
Until I met Bob.
But I'm like, okay, let's try it. And so I don't remember what the first one was. I don't know if it was a chest press or a pull down, but we tried it. It's just like, here, I guess you find that spot where you're exerting the max effort, and that's where it's fixed, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
And he's like, all right, just pull as hard as you can for, I guess there's like a ramp up, and then you're just sometimes 30 seconds. And I did it that first time, and my arms just kind of started doing this, I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I guess we just kind of started adding more and more. And, even just after one exercise, whether it be a pull down or a chest press or a row, I'll look down after 90 seconds of doing these, and I could see like my arms are red, I mean, the muscles are fired up. So
It's called the pump.
Yeah.
the pump minus there's no pump.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. The pump without the pump.
Yeah, right.
That could be a new T-shirt.
No. Hey, if you steal this idea, send us our portion of it.
No, and what's great about it is you don't really have to do it. You don't have to do it very long. I mean, you could, in theory, train somebody, 10 minutes and give them all the work they needed isometrically. So I just find it another tool in the toolbox that I think is very effective. It's been around for a long time, and one person who probably I don't know if I would say made it famous, but is a famous person who was doing it in their training was Bruce Lee. So he was big in isometric training. He considered it a way to really enhance its power. You think about it, if you're doing dynamic strength, which is what machine-based or dumbbell-based
Right.
or barbell-based training is, you rarely do you exert all-out effort, and you don't even come close to it really. You have to have enough of a weight drop to allow you to go up
Right.
and up all the way down, like say in a bicep curl.
I would say, and I tried this working out. I tried to do. There was like one of the earlier weeks, you and I couldn't meet, so I was like, I still need to work out in. So I went in and did a bunch of dumbbells and barbell stuff, and I tried to do the 2 or 3 seconds or 6 seconds, and the machines are so much easier. Like I'm able to push myself further with the machines to that further end. I'm able to push that fatigue so much further with the machines. I can't do that with dumbbells and bar.
And that is a great observation, because that was the whole idea behind machines with cams and changing
Right.
variable resistance, because you do have sticking points with dumbbells where if you're doing a curl and you're in the bottom end and you're fatigued and you're in the weakest spot, you're done. Where machines allow you to keep going and go even deeper into the musculature. So that's a great observation.
Right. So I mean, so that I was able to get I feel like my muscles would fatigue faster, or they get to the point where the pump wouldn't allow me to do. But they didn't scream the same way. Like when you're going. I mean, literally, there are times, like especially when we're doing that bicep curl. There usually you usually have me do it twice. Like after I'm fatigued out, you're like, all right, 2 more. Well, usually both of those times you actually have to push.
Right.
My biceps
Right.
have nothing left in them to pull it back up, right?
Yes.
They have enough in them to like hold it for a few seconds and then slowly let go for the concentric movement. But they can't do the eccentric movement whatsoever.
Yeah. Well,
So you literally fatigue the
concentric,
muscle in every.
eccentric, but you're.
Did I say it backwards?
Yeah, but it's
My bad.
but it's okay. I mean, it's what I'm doing with you, and not everybody else, is you had already gone to momentary muscular failure,
Right.
But we're doing a little added work for you,
Right.
And that's credit to your intensity. So if anybody's listening, I don't do that with everybody, but choice subjects.
Well, yes, and I guess I'm speaking from my experience.
Yeah.
So, but first off, I think Bob's protocol is amazing. I wish that there were more people that. I feel like it's a hard protocol to follow if you're doing it on your own. Like I feel like you need this is the kind of drawback to this protocol.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even right now, after working with you for the last roughly 6 or 7 weeks, we're at 6, I think 6 weeks. So working with you for the last 6 weeks, twice a week, I don't know if I would feel comfortable in going into the gym and being able to get that same result on my own.
No, I agree with that.
Without you there, slow it down, pick it up, make sure it's smoothed out. Your cues are excellent, and they're just what you need.
Yeah.
Well, they're important, though. So without your cues, I don't think I'm experienced enough to do it. I'm not there yet where I know enough about the protocol. So this is something you got to learn, I think, especially if you want to be able to do this on your own. I'm guessing you feel comfortable doing it on your own.
I do, but to be honest,
it's still nice to have someone there kind of coaching you through it.
The little story I went to a couple years ago, there was a resistance exercise conference, and this was in Minneapolis. It was by Discover Strength, and very successful company in that area. And they do the protocol. And in their second day of, in the morning of their second day, they offer everybody who wants to do a morning workout. And they have, now this is an incredible setup. They had like, I think 10 to 12 exercises, and they had 1 or 2 trainers waiting for you at every machine.
Okay.
And then they would throw out all the advanced techniques on you. And it was really uncomfortable. But I mean, it was probably at least 30 minutes after I was done with the program. We got bussed to their location from the hotel. We came back to the hotel, got into my hotel room, and I was changing to get ready for the seminar for that conference for that day. And I was still pumped. I mean, I was like, this is incredible. But and so to my experience is, yes, you go so much further if you have some eyes on you, and somebody who's a mirror and telling you what to do and what, how.
But that's like squeezing the extra little bit of juice out of the lemon or whatever.
Right.
Like what's that extra like 5% that I don't have? How do I get that extra 5%?
Right.
It's like have someone stand over you that knows how to coach you through the exercises. But it's one, I'm very impressed that it doesn't appear that I've lost any strength. So we did a few tests. So right before I started Bob's program, my 1 max rep for bench press was around 285. My 1 max rep for squat was around 285. Those are 2 big ones for me. Those are the 2 things I wanted to calculate how much stronger or how much I increased, decreased, or maintained. And really we've only been doing it 6 weeks, so we haven't even finished the full 8-week protocol. My bench was right at 285, so I didn't lose, I didn't gain on the bench. But over the last 6 weeks, again, I have pretty much not touched hardly any free weights, minus what we do on Sunday Fun Day, which is real low weight, high rep stuff. So we're not doing any kind of strength stuff with the Sunday Fun Day exercises. And actually with legs, we actually set a PR today, and I hit 330. Good solid squat, 45 degree. I hit 330 today. So we actually increased legs by quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to hit over 300 for like 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And the last time I did it, it wasn't even, it was like a 20 degree squat. It wasn't, you know what I mean? I was in no shape, really should have been over 300. Like I really wasn't there, but I would not say comfortably, but I hit 330 today. So, so some of my observations over the last 6 weeks, one, because I have bad knees, as a lot of you guys know out there, ACL, MCL, and meniscus tear like 5 years ago now. In my left knee, and then I retore my meniscus that they wouldn't repair it because the arthritis was so bad. So I've been working on rehabbing the knees the last couple of years. Just now started to be able to run again and do certain agility stuff that I haven't been able to do for a couple of years. A lot of that's due to Knees Over Toe Guy, a handful of other people out there on the internet. I've been taking their protocols and pretty much trying to find ones that work, as well as hot yoga. But one of the things that I constantly struggled with is strengthening my knees, because everything that I do is free weights, and I don't go to the gym. I have my gym in my backyard, so I don't have machines. So I wasn't hitting all my muscles properly in my lower body, and I think it's really helped because with your protocols, I'm doing calves, I'm doing I'm doing leg press. The other big one is I think we've really strengthened my hamstrings, like huge, like massively strengthened my hamstrings, and that's a huge point that I told Bob when I came into this. These are weak. So when it comes to a lot of your lower body exercises, I think it's imperative that you use machines. Like you have to incorporate them because they're going to hit muscles that you just aren't going to hit the same way with a free weight, or you can't hit with a free weight, in my opinion.
Safely.
Yeah. And so that was, I guess that was my other observation was I never got injured during your protocol because that was what would happen. I would do a squat. I would squat funny. Just random things that I would do with free weights that would upset my knee, and I'd be like, man, I can't do knees today. I can't do legs today because my knees are flared up. So this is the first time in a while that I've consistently hit legs and not had to miss a day due to an injury. That's great. A long time.
Yeah.
So I think that is why why I was able to squat so heavy and I was able to set a PR today was the protocol going through your machines allowed my lower body to add muscle in a safe way that was controlled.
Exactly. I think that's it. And then and you've really, which is neat to see, is you've really almost every week have gone up in strength, and we haven't held back. We haven't needed to because you've proven you can, do the resistance that that I was providing. So
I refuse to let you win, Bob. Okay, whatever you throw at me, I'm gonna want more.
Machines eventually always win.
Well, so far 6 weeks in, they have not yet.
I know.
I feel like now next week, Bob's gonna be like, and the machines win today.
Well, I don't know. That's not necessarily true with my static training.
Yeah, I know. Chris is getting, and so we've been doing the static training,
right?
And
how long? Was it? How long have we been doing it?
It
like
seems
over
like
the summer, maybe, or
I don't know when we started.
Were you guys just starting when I first started talking to you about it?
Probably.
Because I remember you getting all excited about it.
But it was like, that was early on. That was months before you all finally connected. I
right.
think.
Yeah, that's right. So I was like, I tell the story to everybody is, we're doing this static training and I got all the weights on the machine pinned, and over time I started noticing that Chris was moving almost in every exercise the whole stack. so I was like watching, I'm like going, oh my gosh, what have I created? So now I have to offer extra resistance on his exercises. So in other words, he's doing a pull down. I can't let him and what we do, just to give some clarity, is like, if you think about a pull down, there's a high position pull down into the low position.
Right.
And what I'm doing with the machines statically is I'm setting that so that he's in his strongest position through the range. So if you're pulling down from top, you're not strongest here. You're about close to the middle, maybe a little bit above is where your maximum strength potential is. So we pin it, all the weights, and then he's pulling down. And again, Chris has been moving the weight stack. So I now go under the bar, and then I hold it. And it's work for me to hold it without him, shoving me into the floor. So, so it's incredible. I mean, I am just. This is what the excitement is, and this is why I can't wait to get my hands on some static machines that do measurement, and then I don't have to worry about. There's no weight stack, so
I don't think you have a choice. And it sounds like you have a client that has needs, and you just can't provide. You can't provide stuff that he's too strong for you. So if you want to keep him as a client,
I'm afraid
I'd upgrade. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
No, but he's been doing a fantastic job, and Bev has too. Bev is you know Bev from the coffee shop. So Bev is like, I think he's 71 or 2, I believe, and you never know it. He's in fantastic shape. He takes really good care of himself, and he's doing statics, and he's been doing statics, probably for about a month and a half, 2 months, and he's not a big guy. He weighs probably, I think he tells me fluctuates, but let's say 145 to to 155 maybe when on his heavier times. And he is about ready to move the stacks too. In fact, I think he has moved the stacks on an exercise or two. So I mean, it's insane. I'm really excited about the potential of static training and adding that into the dynamic mix.
Okay. Yeah.
And we'll throw in some dynamic. But I feel like we might have had a program for a while where it really, I think the whole thing was static.
Right.
Didn't we have one
We
that
did.
was like that? And
Oh,
it
so
was
you guys
just-
did a static only?
We did.
So
And-
now you have a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
Now,
It's-
what I like about it, and you can comment and tell me what you think, but I like the idea that you're not like when you like, for example, when you train,
Yeah.
and you're doing dynamic strength. You're done. You go, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
you're
Like
cooked.
when I'm like 22, we're about 22, 25 minutes
Yeah.
on average, right?
Right.
Like I am done for the next half an hour, 45 minutes before I could touch anything. It really is amazing.
Mhm.
Like I don't ever feel. I mean, I feel tired and exhausted from a good strength training, free weights, but I do not feel the same as I do finishing with you. Like I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
No, because after we're done, he kicks us out for his next client.
Yeah.
We got to drive.
Yeah.
And I've been at sitting at red lights with my foot on that brake, and my foot is shaking from a 25-minute
Well,
workout.
if Bob notices I sit out in front of his gym for a good 15 minutes before I pull away, I'll play on my phone because there are some days I'm like,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
can't grip
well,
the
we-
steering wheel.
it's not safe for me to be out there.
It's true. But like another thing too, and it's been like this since the beginning, training with it, especially with the static, is a lot of times I'll go in training after a 9-hour day at work on my feet all day, walking, moving, lifting, everything that I do. I couldn't imagine going over to a gym on my own and working out after that, But I'll go straight over and am excited about it. And sometimes I'll go in and I'm like,
Well, you
"Man,
also
I'm
know
really
that,
tired
like-
today. And those are the days that I think I do best.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the style of training or I know that I don't know. It's incredible because I could go in feeling horrible or
Right.
I threw my back out one time, was still able to go train with Bob and feel better afterwards.
Well, I think anybody out there, if you're having a crappy day, like working out's never going to make it crappier.
But I'm
Like,
just
it
like
hardly
physically-
ever does make it crappier.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like even physically, where like it's just like, man, maybe I should take this day off. And I've never done that. I've never said no. I don't think
you've always shown up.
I've always shown up. No, yeah, and
What I love is because I've been experimenting with it as well. Is if you do exclusively or primarily statics, it doesn't hit your nervous system the same way as a dynamic strength would be. In other words, you can give your all-out effort and do 4 to 6 statics, and you're done, and you feel like you worked because your muscles have contracted very, very hard, and you've given that all-out effort. But when you're done, you go, yeah, I'm done. And so I like that from a standpoint of that could be attractive to anybody across all age groups. And statics are known to be very safe, safer than dynamic strength. You can work around injuries. So they're a tool I don't think people have really taken advantage of. Which is again have been around for a long time, but are just now starting to gain a little bit more momentum in their use.
Well, I mean, and like I told you the other day, I mean, you convinced me enough that I was going to start building a program for my dad, who's just about to just turned 60 or 61. I should know this. Hope Dad's not listening. But I mentioned to my dad that after training with you, I think that I at the very least want him to do something similar. I want him to specifically train with you or do something similar with machines before he starts doing anything with free weights. He has a lower back disc issue, which I think with the machines we'll be able to get around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, I'm trying to send my dad to you to start training outside of me as a trainer, doing it myself, just because I think at least starting off, this is a better protocol for my dad to be doing, getting back into weightlifting and strength training than jumping right into free weights and kettlebells, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's all preference. I mean, all those tools are fun. Everybody likes. You go to whatever keeps you consistent.
Yes.
Do But the key thing there was you talked about is safety. You do not want anybody to get injured or you want to hurt
Exactly.
themselves. So. Yeah, that's a good way.
I like my free weights. I'll deal with the injuries that come with them from time to time. Well, I feel about every 24 weeks, my body's just exhausted from free weights, and I literally I'll have these little nagging injuries all over my body. They're tiny and they'll go away in a week or two if I just take a break, and usually I'll go on a dead load week or two and I'll let my body heal. But that's the one thing I haven't run into at all with your program. But also, I'm only doing it for less than an hour a week.
Yeah.
Just twice a week for 20, 25
Think about
minutes.
that. You didn't lose.
I didn't.
You gained, and
Exactly.
and you're doing less.
So
yeah,
the biggest probably thing that I wanted out of the program or the protocol that I didn't get, which I think partially is my diet needed to be better than it was. Is that I actually did not gain. Really, I didn't gain any actual probably muscle mass. Like far as the way, like I gained a lot of strength. Like it showed that I gained a lot of strength, but I did not grow in size like I wanted to. I think you could grow in size. I know you would probably disagree with me on this one, but I think someone that's serious about growing on size, they need to do it 3 days a week, and they need to eat a super clean diet. Like I think you could maybe potentially get the same results as free weights with machines, but I think that you're gonna have to. Like those guys, you got to be super strict. You got to eat the right things. You got to get the right amount of rest, and you've got to give 100% when you're in the gym. But I think 3 times a week, and I think I could maybe see some growth.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors there, as you mentioned. Nutrition.
Yeah.
And then enough recovery
and that's why
to stimulate.
my nutrition was not good.
Yeah.
As it should be. I mean, I was probably getting close to enough protein, but I did do some measurements before and after, with like my biceps and thighs and stuff. And actually my legs grew a little bit, but mostly my upper body stayed about the same. But again,
but we're only 6 weeks in.
Huh? Exactly. We are only 6 weeks in.
Yeah.
And what we've kept maintained free weights, the free weight max reps, or increased again on the lower body.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, I have no issue with any tool that somebody likes. This is just one tool.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just think like what I think is wonderful to hear is you telling your story, because if you just tell Joe or Jane, it's 1 or 2 times a week, it's a total body workout, it's one set, the momentary muscular failure, they don't understand what that experience is.
So yeah,
and
Bob,
why it
David
works.
was Joe or Jane, and I was the guy telling him about it.
Yeah. No.
And he was just like, but seriously? Like,
I think that's what this is what started this whole entire friendship conversation here, was me and you talking all the time at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then you would tell me what you
well,
were
I found
doing.
out what you did, I guess, or
yeah.
something, and I told you what I did, and you just, for about 3 weeks, were like, really? Like, but don't you, do you even lift, bro?
Yeah, I mean, I found it very interesting, because when you explained what you were doing to me, I was kind of like, this doesn't sound right. This goes against everything as a personal trainer that I learned in school and I've experienced. But then again, I'm like, I haven't experienced this to know if it, And then you finally linked me into Bob.
Well, you all were both in there together one day, and I was like,
okay, finally.
This is it.
Getting these two together.
I'm like, you explain it, because I'm not getting through to him.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, really, all this is because of Chris.
Because of Chris. He's so friendly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I always tell you, I go in there at a coffee shop, and I feel bad because Chris and I get into some kind of conversation about something, usually fitness related. You're usually in the conversation at some point in time. And then there's people like waiting to get coffee, and I'm like, oh man.
I never stop moving.
You never stop. No, you never do.
No.
You never stop moving. It just is like, it amazes me that you're able to keep going, and then I'm like, all right.
That's not that anybody's waiting for their drink. They're just waiting to also have a conversation with me.
Yeah, and I was like, can I get my Chris time for the day? You can have your Chris time next. But yeah, I mean, overall, the 6 weeks, we're got I think 3 weeks left, so we'll get roughly nine weeks before I move into my 30-day cut and a whole different program that I'm going to be doing, and we'll be putting out hopefully a little video on that, but and we have some video footage, but we didn't end up getting the full documentary that we were hoping to get for this I guess 8-week program with you. But I'm really happy with it, and the other thing is my body does feel it feels somewhat healed for the first time in a while, because like I said, when you do free weights, there's always these small tendons or muscles that seem to get upset because. If I'm doing a 5-day split, certain muscles are getting hit 5 days.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you're not crossing over.
Right.
And not, like somehow there is a muscle or two out there that is getting hit all 5 days. And so like the weekend when it gets that rest, and if I'm doing a Sunday fun day, then I'm doing a 6-day week.
Yeah.
I get 1 day of rest a week.
Yeah. They call it like a globalization of your muscles. Like you can train your legs exclusively. Let's say you were doing a split. You're still affecting the whole body, which means the arms and legs get an effect off the training. So even though you're piecing it in isolating groups, it's still the whole body gets affected. So my guess is when you do that, and remember, exercise is a stimulus.
Right.
It's just, that's all it is. It doesn't change you right when you're doing it. It's a stimulus for change, and you got to have some kind of recovery to allow the change to happen and the repair to happen. So, but it's good. I mean, this is, I'm the same as you. I'm always trying to learn and, find out what's working, what's not working, and, to keep my energy levels up and keep everything high and mental clarity. And of course, obviously there's other parts that not just the training, the nutrition, as you mentioned earlier, quality sleep. We talked about that a little bit last time. So all those things are factors. And I think if you do that and you recover enough, you can avoid having those injuries, whatever tool you're using.
Yes, I never felt like we got close to any type of injury. Actually have noticed the last couple of days that my forearms were past fatigued. They had that almost, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like when you're past that soreness and it's almost like discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like, oh, I'm really, like, it's almost like you have worn this muscle out so much that it's like I need some serious rest. But other than that, and that's because I push forearms, because I love that forearm machine. That's one thing I will say. My grip strength because I've never really trained grip, my grip strength has increased immensely. For me, making it much easier to do pull-ups.
Exactly, and that's a huge need for everybody.
Yeah.
So if I'm speaking statically, you're doing static training. You're doing dynamic work on your gripper.
Yes, right.
And then you hold at the end.
Exactly.
That's static training. So you're holding, that's static. That weight wants to pull away from you. You're squeezing it, making sure it doesn't. And so if you're watching at home, you don't have access to a super forearm machine, Nautilus era, classic, which most people don't. Then you can use a tennis ball and squeeze it for 6 to 10 seconds.
On Amazon, they make little like grippers that you can add more resistance to.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really cheap. They're just I think it's just metal rolled up that you're just
You can go around anywhere. You can grab your doorknob and you're not going anywhere. Squeeze your doorknob. I mean, static. You're almost unlimited with the potential of statics. You can push against a wall in a fixed position.
Hold a
door frame.
Yeah, dumbbell. If you hold a kettlebell or dumbbell up above your head, and really a kettlebell, because the way it's angled, that weight from the kettlebell, you can practice your grip with the kettlebell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Upside down and walk.
Exactly.
Like an opposite farmer's carry.
Right. Or even just holding on to the kettlebell with its weighted kettlebell.
If it's heavy enough.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that I didn't train, right? So that's one thing that I never really thought about or trained. I'm going to. It will always be in my training regimen from here on out somehow. Is the grip strength. Like I'd say I've increased grip strength. I'd actually be interested. I wish we'd had some kind of way to meter the strength of my grip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have been good to get a measurement before we started.
Yeah. But this is something I never thought about, and I never trained, but I've absolutely loved doing it.
But it's very true that a stronger grip translates into stronger potential for work on the other muscles.
I would say my grip is my weak, right? So like when I do a deadlift, I may be able to deadlift more weight, but like if my grip gives up on me, and I actually have things that go around my wrist to help hold, like grip assisters when I do a deadlift. But your body's only as strong as its weakest point, like anything else. And so if your grip's weak, then like that's gonna, once that gives out, even though your body can handle more, or whatever that muscle group can handle more, your bicep, whatever. Then once the grip gives out, it gives out. That's right.
That's true.
Which is a little bit, I think, what I've struggled with on some of the machines, like the lat pull downs and stuff, is that my grip is going out, but I can still. Do you ever have this problem, Chris, where like your grip's just like the grip hurts more than the actual like?
Yeah. That's at the beginning when we started training, we were doing some pull ups and stuff like that, and I would always dread it, not because of not being able to pull up, but
the grip.
It
hurts.
Yeah, and I'm just like, well, I don't want to go to gloves because I want to be able to get past this, but like. And same thing with I'm trying to. There's one that we're doing now, like the static stuff, like it might be the row. So I'm sitting there pulling, and I could go harder, but of it, yeah.
The grip's it's because she's going against you. It's trying to pull away.
Yeah. So I mean, the grip's really an issue with some of the static stuff.
Now, does he use the grip machine very often?
We haven't incorporated in a while.
We have.
Yeah.
I love that thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think it's awesome. So
yeah. Well, and then I used to have, I still do have it, but it's much better now, plantar fasciitis in my foot. And so we worked really hard on trying to get that, repaired and rehabbed, and so that was at the calf, you know, and so I loved it, and it felt great. But that was one of the ones where, you know, I would get in the car and make it a couple blocks down the road at a stoplight, and my foot would be shaking like that, you know. Same thing with, you know, some of the grip stuff, you know. I'll
or if he kills you on the calf, if he puts too much weight on that damn calf machine, I can't walk.
We're timing that one. That's when you get into time on calves, and you're getting a lot of reps in. Man, you'll feel it.
Yeah, and my calves are pretty strong, so usually I can make it to that minute 45 too. But like I get off of it, and I really think Bob should incorporate some kind of carry you to the car service.
Nope, it's quick. He's just like, all right, get out.
Yep, I got the next person. You know, it was nice seeing you.
He needs to have the shoot, you know, like Christmas Story.
Idea.
Just you know, right
down. Oh man. So so that's what Bob and I have been doing the last 6 weeks, and Chris has been. It's amazing. 2 years, once a week. How often are you getting into doing cardio and stuff? I know lately you've been busy with life things.
Yeah. I mean, I try to get 30 to 40 minutes in 4 to 5 days a week.
Okay.
Give or take, just depending on what's going on. But I mean, I'm just, you know, I use the arc trainer, you know, and it's a moderate intensity, and you know, so I'm not doing HIIT, I'm not doing, you know, hours of cardio or anything. It's just enough to, you know. What else? What was the second? Was there a second part of that question?
No. It was literally just like what you were doing, how often you were doing cardio, and like specifically what.
Well,
kind of cardio
I mean, I'm
now.
getting 15 to 20,000 steps a day just at work.
Right.
But like everything, that plateaus, you know. So sometimes I need just a little, or if I notice I'm you know, putting on weight or whatever, I just need that little extra to kind of get back to where I want to go. And so
you just you get to a point where you're comfortable and you just kind of maintain that and just.
And then and then if I notice,
do you have any larger fitness goals? Like I want to be this weight, or I want to be able to do this much, or is it more or less like I just want to feel good and I want to be I want a better quality of life.
I want to look somewhat decent and feel good,
right?
But just the functional stuff, you know, that's just so important.
Well, yeah, that probably translates to your job, picking stuff up, moving stuff, you know, not throwing your back out or injuring yourself because your muscles are used to being moved in these planes of motion, more often.
That, or you know, just not wanting to make multiple trips from the car on grocery day. Just, you know,
man, I bet you can hold like 50 bags. Like you could do the wrist, the bag loop thing through the wrist. You could probably do like the whole.
Actually, no, I've got these giant carabiners actually that I'll just, you know, hook all the bags and you know, do a farmer's walk with grocery. Like, that's actually how I do it.
Yeah. No, that's
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so that's the big thing too is, you know. I'm about old enough to be your dad, so just to let you know that. When you said your dad, my dad, you know, my old dad, you know. But anyway, I've gone from the aesthetics.
My
of
dad's
training.
just not in your shape though.
Oh,
I want to say my new old dad, my healthy new old dad.
But the thing that you talked about, one of the terms here is, as Chris mentioned, was being more functional, and that has I've kind of morphed into, you know, early on in the, you know, the personal training world. And the health industry, I was all about the look. You know, I want a certain look. I want to have sculpted abs and blah blah blah. And now, and then talking with other people, now it really has changed completely. Which is, I want people to be functional, and I think this is just one tool to help that along because, you know, the quality of life is is the most important thing.
Well, and you can start at any level. That's the one thing I like about machines. Like right off the bat, modification, less weight. like far as modifications are concerned with the machines, I mean, really the only major modification is how much weight can you do. So you're not changing the exercise up at all. It's still the same exercise. It's just this is the weight that we can do. So therefore, almost anybody, maybe not actual bodybuilders or strength training people that can like do the whole entire stack of weights and be like, I need more weight. Outside of those, yeah, right, Chris. Outside of those people,
yeah,
then you know, it makes it so easy to train on a machine in that aspect.
It does, yeah. That's probably what really has drawn me to it. The safety factors of the machine, I think they're kind of built in, and the fact that you can keep progressing in strength in a manner that's again, that is highly effective and safe.
Now, would you say one of the largest goals of your clients though is quality of life? Then, like,
Absolutely.
Is that a bigger goal than losing weight, gaining muscle, getting stronger,
Well,
like all these other different things?
Probably
that
like you, most people talk about wanting to lose weight or to eat healthier, and we do discuss that because that ultimately can change the way you look. That is probably the number one reason, or one way.
Is weight loss?
I wouldn't say weight loss. I mean, probably so, be honest. But it's more about like eat healthy, eat the food that's healthy. Your body will come down to where it's supposed to be. It wants to do that. So, but yeah, that's always been, a hot topic. Everybody wants to, find out ways to make it, their nutrition work. And everybody's different because you got a lifestyle and business. It's you got time factors and these all play a role. But in general, and weight loss does,
Right.
finding the right nutrition.
Well, I guess, but people also
goal.
find that even if they don't change their diet that much or somewhat, and as they probably should, that just by adding the protocol once or twice a week, their quality of life, they'll probably notice the difference in quality of life.
Oh, absolutely, and I get that all the time.
Which is bad in some ways because then they're like, oh, I didn't need to change my diet. I
Yeah.
just needed 2 30-minute sessions with Bob a week. That's all I needed. I'm good. I can still eat whatever.
Well, and that's the choice. It all comes down to choices.
Right.
And if a person decides that they don't want to change anything nutritionally, then for me that's your option, not my option. I don't doesn't matter to me. I want the person to get the benefit from what we're doing, and then if they decide that they need some extra tweaks, then we can talk about
Right.
that and work on that, and maybe find one or two habits that might make a big difference.
And that's what I've done. I give every new client a eating journal, pretty much a food journal, so they can journal their food. I have them do it for 2 weeks. I try to have them do it pretty honest, like everything they do put on there. And I tell them they don't even have to change. They don't need to change their diet because I just want to know what they're eating. I want to know how they're eating. We'll go over it after the 2 weeks. We'll talk about it. And if they want to continue to talk and work on it, I'll do it. But I'm also, if they're just like, no, I'm fine with how I am, and this is what I'm going to keep doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, well, then the exercise is still going to, you weren't exercising before, so you're still going to see a change. And I've found that over time, people are more likely to change habits once they've got the workout habit going, and they got that going, and now they realize, okay, I'm not losing any more weight, because you're going to lose a little bit of weight even if you eat the same and you start working out. It's just uptick in your metabolic rate. And so, they lose that weight, and then they'll start talking to me again months later. In my experience, like, okay, let's talk food again. Like, what can we do? So like one of my clients, he loves cookies. So like I think I've got him down to eating like his cookies that he likes at lunch every other day or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a small change. But guess what? That small change adds up over the 2 or 3 month period that we've been doing that.
It's
right?
a victory, and I think those are key to successful lifestyle changes.
Right. So if it takes a customer, or if it takes a client, a month to make these changes or a year to make them changes, but as long as they're making the changes and they're feeling good and they're happy, you just got to stick with it. But like if they don't want to talk food and that's not their thing, I leave it alone. But I always remind them every so often, if you ever want to, I'm here to go over that.
That's great. Smart.
So, but guys, this has been a great podcast. I think we've had a lot of fun. Chris, I really appreciate you coming on and kind of talking about your experience, especially now that you're doing a lot more of that static stuff.
Right.
Which, we didn't, I guess we dove into it, but there's probably a whole scientific aspect of it that we could really, really dive into.
Yeah. Chapter 3.
Yeah, right.
I will say too, we were doing static, and
Right.
then we started bringing back some more dynamics. If you're doing that, be careful and realize that you're going back into dynamic, because you remember the bicep curl.
Yeah.
So I had been doing a static bicep at one point, and then so we go over, and the first dynamic I've done in 8 weeks.
Oh no!
And so I'm on there, and he's got the plates loaded up, and I'm just like, are you gonna put any weight on this?
Yeah.
You know, he's like, it's set. Just slow down.
Yeah,
This isn't
that's
set."
one of the and that's
Oh
that's,
yeah, that must have felt light.
It felt weird, yeah.
because you've been holding such a heavy weight statically for
Yeah.
so.
Not even not holding even. He's overcoming. That's the term.
Okay.
Where he
Overcoming.
he is exerting maximum force against that bar. So he's pulling as hard as he can. Where when you're yielding, you're just holding something stable, and it's
So he's slowly fighting against that maximum weight.
he is he's maximum force. So it would
maximum
be is like
force, okay.
it would be like someone said, you saw, you were underneath a car and you saw a child, and you were going, oh my gosh, and you would get underneath that car and you try to lift that car as hard as you could with maximum effort, and in hopes to lift that car up. Well, in a sense, that's what static training is you're giving your maximum all in a short period of time, where you just never do that with dynamic strength training. That's why I think it's a complement to the dynamic strength training.
I can only imagine, like the way now that I understand, like I can only imagine what it must have felt like going back to a movie
Yeah.
instead of being static but dynamic movement.
Yeah.
But no, I really appreciate you coming on and kind of giving us your
Yeah, it was fun.
your
Thanks.
side of things. And Bob, it has been great training with you. Actually, I still got a couple more weeks, so I'm excited that I've still got a few more weeks to play around with it. Maybe we can even set a new max squatting record with the free weights.
And maybe we throw in some statics.
And maybe we throw in some statics. Yeah, let's hold 320 now. But no, it really has, and I'm I think that for certain people, depending on what you want, that the machines in many aspects are a great way, one, to start. Two, they may be the perfect way to actually to do your training. The problem is, how many Bob Tomes are there out there?
There are more than you think, probably.
Well, let's hope so. But I mean, no, seriously though, I mean,
Yeah.
you're the first person I've ever met that knows this much about machines. Like everyone knows the basics for how to use them, and like the basics of understanding. Okay, I need to probably be this high, or and I'd say half the people don't even probably know how to adjust them. Right? I've learned more.
That's definitely huge. Just
Yeah.
the difference between me going and using machines at a gym,
Right.
and then working with Bob is, I mean, he gets everything set before you come in.
Exactly.
But
But I don't know
almost all the machines. He's got some weird ones, some contraptions in there. But
He really does.
Thank you very much.
Almost all the machines I have used at one point, but they've never felt like they should. And so he'll get
Right.
everything set, and for my height and my size, and it's like, oh, okay, that's where that's supposed to be. And there's certain one, like a chest press or something. You could get that all wonky at the gym and not be doing anything for yourself.
Right.
And that was huge too. And so, I'm not even tempted to walk into a gym and use machines without him standing there. It's just like,
Call Bob. Hey Bob, I'm at the YMCA.
Yeah.
Could you, I've got a couple machines.
here's a picture. Now you tell me. Yeah, because it's just like I'll do it wrong.
Right.
So,
And so that's what I'm saying, that how many people with your experience, on top of that, you kind of geek out on machines, right? So like
yeah.
you really, you don't just have them, you really understand the engineering behind them and how they work. And that goes into how you purchase new machines and what machines you want. Is to understand
Exactly.
the engineering and who's making it. Like you actually know the difference between a really solid brand. I think it seems like a lot of brands you like come from Germany. Is there a German company that you really like?
Well, there's a German company that's had bought Medex equipment.
Oh, maybe that's what we were talking about. Okay.
And they have done their work on those pieces and have made them better. Called Kaiser, and there's another company called David that's in that area. They make great machines, more in the rehabilitation market.
Okay.
And there's an Italian company that I would love to get my hands on a few of their machines called Panada. And not to cut any machine manufacturer down, because I find that if you had a set of machines, from a company, you're going to find probably 2, 3, maybe 4 that you go, wow, they did that right, So, but that's part of my geeking out on machines. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the machines that Bob probably has too, I would guess, have better setups for incremental adjustments than that you don't get at like a big box warehouse or a big box gym, or even probably a smaller gym.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're able to really dial in things very incrementally with your machines, where you may not be able to be that precise at a gym.
And that keeps people moving forward if you can do some of those incremental
Right.
changes. So I do consider that as when I purchase a piece of equipment, how is this going to be able to be used?
Right, because some of your stuff, like your leg press, you can go up by like a pound, right?
I have machines that you can do a pound increments. Those are, I think the ones you're talking about are 2 pounds.
Oh,
Yeah.
2 pound increments on
Yeah.
the leg press. But yeah, because there was like one time I keep seeing 340, and I'm like, man, am I never going to go up?
Yeah.
I've been stuck on 340 for 3 weeks, and
Uh-huh.
he goes, no, you did 346 today. And I'm like, oh, so he's probably been going up 2 pounds every week.
Yeah.
You just don't do 5 pound or 10 pound jumps like most people.
Yeah.
You can, but that probably helps with not hitting the wall. Like
Right,
hitting
right.
like because if that extra 5 pounds or 10 pounds is what's keeping you from moving up, but if you could go 1 or 2 pounds and work your way up to that 10 pound,
Exactly.
5 pound
I,
increment.
I love that when you can do incremental changes. It keeps people moving forward.
Yeah, it makes us feel good because after you finish the
Well,
being
after you
murdered
finish
with the
the
machine, he's like, good, that was an increase.
yeah.
So you're like, okay, it might have been at 2 pounds.
But
But
I do know
I
when
never
I get
ask
out,
what the increase was. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's
the
good.
leg press. So when you do the leg press, are you like out of breath? Like when I'm
Yes.
finished with the leg press,
Yes.
and he takes me to the next machine. Sometimes I struggle to get through the next machine because I'm like, I am breathing like a crazy person.
Wait till you try it statically.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I can't imagine.
Yeah, you wouldn't
It's-
think that would take it out of you, but it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he makes you.
but like
bend your
that's
knees a
one.
little bit,
I mean, you
doesn't
really have to.
he? So the tension's always.
You
there.
have to focus on it. I'm like, where is that max effort? Like
Right.
that, the legs. That's the hardest one because, a push and a pull. I think I've kind of figured out what max effort is now, and it takes me a while because we do a slow ramp up, you
Right.
know, and you really have to like, is that max? Is it max? Is it max? And the legs is the hardest one for me to like. What is the max? And once you really,
The legs are strong.
It'll wear
They're-
you
I
out.
think people's legs are stronger than they realize.
Oh,
they are.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like I was telling some people I was working with a client, and he's 102 years old, and he did 2 sets of 10 at 203 pounds leg press machine, so not like weighted, but machine, and a lot of people are just like, that seems really impressive, and I'm like, he's in pretty good shape for 102 years old. I'm I think he can do more than that probably, but and I think that was close to his max effort, but still,
Yeah.
I think people have their own mental blocks. They're like, I can't do this. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And the mental part's huge.
That's what I try not to do when I'm with you, because there are times like I'm at a minute and 30 seconds, and I'm like, oh, I can just shut down right now. I made it. I'm going up next week.
And that's where you would, on your own, you might stop.
yes.
Yes.
Right.
But I try to be, and I try to in my head, I'm like, no, I got to keep going. And then I'm like, I haven't hit the point where he does the one more thing 5 times in a row.
Well, and I don't think that like I know I can't on my own determine what failure is. Until we started working, I never knew that.
Usually
I'm like, okay, I
before.
don't want to do another one,
Right.
so I'm going to call that failure.
Right. Or you hit
it's
to
when
12.
You can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like when I was doing free weights, and I would do 4 sets of 12, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, here's the thing, like after doing 4 sets of 12, I mean, I may feel like I'm close to failure, but I'm really not at failure.
No.
Like, but like when you walk away from a machine working with that muscle, that like it's
Yeah.
It's done.
Because you cannot do another.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, half the time, like Bob will literally have to like do 1 rep or 2 reps for me, and then I just kind of do the hold, and I try to keep it. Especially with the bicep. Almost every time when you help me with the bicep,
Yeah.
I am not
You're
helping
done.
you pull it back up. Like I'll hold it, I can get to the top, and I can hold it, but I am not like that's all you.
And
I don't
David,
have the
I
strength.
know I'm doing the work. yeah.
Okay,
You have
good.
no, I know that it's just that's great though. You went to the edge.
Well, that's what you.
and
Yeah.
and that's where we wanted
I
to
give
go.
you everything I got.
Yeah, and you were done. So,
But that
I
whole
mean,
failure thing, I mean, that's why you could get the workout done so quickly. 20,
Yeah.
30 minutes. I mean, if you're go into failure with 1 set, I mean, you could just knock them out.
Well, and that's a great lead in because there's been studies that show there's numerous studies that show 1 set is as good or better than 3.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Numerous. Yeah. The worst is it's the same. So
Interesting.
if you go to muscle failure,
There's a lot of interesting programs out there, like the 3-1-1. You ever heard of that one?
I'm not sure. There's all kinds of
Yeah, but it's some weird. It's all based off of percentage, and you really do. You can finish that workout in 15 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like you do 4 major body. You do 4 days,
Mm-hmm.
and you do one. I think you do 1 exercise twice.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think one of them, if I remember correctly, was like a military press. Man, it's been so long since I've done it. But I would do the military press. Like I would figure out what my one max rep is, and then I would do it at like 90% of that, and then I would try to get like a certain amount of reps, and I did that twice, and then I did some kind of like core exercise, and I was done.
Yeah,
and yeah, I got stronger with those individual things, but I just got stronger with those individual modalities. I don't necessarily know if it really helped me get like bigger or larger, or whatever I was trying to achieve at the time.
right, yeah. Well, the general rule of thumb is you can go, you can either go longer at a lower intensity, or the higher your intensity goes up, the shorter the time period has to be.
That's true.
Yeah,
so, and I think a lot of it comes down to what are your goals? Like at the end of the day, what are your goals? And if your goal is to push your body, get a good workout in, and get some rest, and not kill yourself, like the machine-based program may be perfect. If your goal is to be a professional bodybuilder, first off, you need to figure out how to get the steroids. I'm gonna let you know that right now, from what I hear.
And have great genetics.
Yeah, and have great genetics. Well, yeah, and that's something we've talked about. Is genetics really do play a part. But I don't know if a professional. I really would love to see a professional bodybuilder do your program and see what you could get out of them.
Yeah, I mean, it would
and see if they could compete at a professional level just doing.
Yeah.
machines.
Oh, there's been. You remember heard of Dorian Yates? He was. I think he was Mr. Olympian more than once. He did the HIIT training.
Okay.
Yeah. So he probably, I'm not sure his frequency because he probably was recovering, but he used to say, I did the HIIT training and I sleep all the time, and then he would do it again. So he's a big believer in it. But most of the guys that do bodybuilding are really into volume, and they like being in the gym. So it kind of matches their personality and what they want to.
Right, and that's the golden standard, right?
Yeah.
So like it's hard for anything of any type of plateau to like get a new thought process in.
Right.
Try something different, because I mean, up till you really, Chris, like I guess I've heard of machine training, but not in the aspect of like real training. Like I can train you like an athlete.
Right.
I can put you on a machine. This is how I'm going to train an athlete, on machines only. I had never really had that as a concept in my head before. So the gold standard is free weights, dumbbells, bars, stuff like that. But I'm seeing more and more people being open-minded to new things.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's always something new.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of junk out there.
Right.
I feel like
absolutely.
that isn't safe, that you shouldn't be doing. But I don't know. It feels like fitness is on more people's minds than ever, which I think to a certain extent is good, and to a certain extent can also be bad for the psyche for some people.
Right. Yeah, it's I just we have a problem in our culture of too much sitting and not enough moving.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and it's really, that's why I think this is just this is one avenue to take. It's quick, it's easy, doesn't take a lot of time in the week. I think it makes you feel good to where you might want to be more active through the week, whether it be walking or yard work or whatever. But it's just one avenue, and I'm just promoting getting out there and moving, but you do need to strength train in some fashion, do some form of muscular challenge to function better. And
I agree with that 100%.
Goal.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess at the end of the day, as you get older, the ultimate goal, like you said, is moving. Right, that's step one. Like just move, because if you're moving, those body parts are going to work. You stop moving, they get stale, they hurt. Over time, that can be a very bad thing for you. And I work with a lot of senior citizens, and that's my biggest thing to tell them. I need you to just move, and then some can do more challenging things versus others. And then, like you said, genetics. Like I'm pretty sure that 102-year-old that I work with, it's got to be genetics, because this guy he moves better than just about all my other clients. Yeah, that are up to 20 or 30 years younger than him.
And he may have never stopped moving. To his credit, and that's huge when you stop.
Well, he's an old school Army World War II veteran too.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Wow, yeah, that's great.
Anyways, but yeah, again, thanks guys for coming on. This has been a blast.
Enjoyable. Yeah, always.
I foresee years down the line we'll be like, Bob Tome is back on for the X amount of time. People will be like, Bob is the most on guest on the Transparency Fitness Live podcast.
You were a skeptic,
glad to be
David.
here.
Yeah, right. Hey, okay, you're right. I was a little bit of a skeptic. But yeah, I mean, I fully believe in his protocols for so many people at so many different levels.
Yeah, thank you.
So, but anyways,
Appreciate it.
as always, guys,
Pleasure.
It's been great having you on, and I'm sure we'll talk soon. I know I'm going to see you soon. 'Cause
Yes.
we've still got some working out to do.
And I'll say use it.
And yeah, and I've got to drink my coffee.
Right, yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for stopping in, and as always, we'll catch you next time.